So I'm reading this book right now called I Am Made of Death. The author's name is Kelly Andrew, and I do want to say, before I get into what could be considered, I guess, a harsh review, would be that I don't hate this book. I am reading it and I am enjoying it. I am. I want to preface with that. And now on to the rest of my thoughts. My thoughts are not about the book, necessarily. They're more about what the author is claiming the book is, or I guess what readers are claiming the book is, which is this subgenre that is being dubbed bubblegum horror. Now, I love myself a good subgenre. I think subgenres and subgenres are so much fun. This is not about me being a pretentious horror asshole who hates niche things. I am not a dick. I pinky promise. That being said, I am picky and I am particular, and I really like wording to be specific. If you're going to give me a subgenre, I expect that subgenre. The idea of this book of I Am Made of Death being bubblegum horror is the fact that the horror itself is surrounded by a lot of cute aesthetics. In this specific book, I Am Made of Death, the main character is a ballerina, for example. She likes pink, she's very feminine, etc. And it is also a romance. So there is a lot of this fluffy kindness supposedly happening around the horror. The idea is that these gruesome, horrifying, gory things are taking place in settings that are bubblegum pop girly girl, you know what I mean? That's the idea of bubblegum horror. But I would argue that this book itself is not bubblegum horror, or at least it's not achieving that goal, and it's not because of the characters or the setting, it's very much because of the prose. I think prose and writing craft gets ignored a lot when trying to sell a book nowadays, especially if your book can lean on a subgenre or lean on a trope. I want to clarify, the writing in this book is not bad. It is more colloquial than I typically read. It is a lot more accessible than I typically read. And none of these are insults. I am not, please, none of these are insults. It's just I lean towards more things that are like Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I like things that are very, very poetic. When I list off my favorite books, all of them are, I guess, pretentious dickhead books. But I promise I'm not a pretentious dick. That's just because I really love writing craft. I'm a big fan of poetry. I'm a big fan of purple prose. I'm a big fan of Donna Tartt. I'm a big fan of stuff that is very library-esque. Don't know if that makes sense. Makes sense in my mind. And my problem is with a subgenre is I expect the writing style to match what I am reading. So when I hear bubblegum horror, I expect more flowery, beautiful prose. Personally, I expected more bubblegum, the narration to be a little bit more bubbly and sweet, the descriptions to be a bit more visceral. I kind of wanted to get a toothache from how cute everything is and how that is juxtaposed to the demons and the horror and the blood and the death, but it's not juxtaposed. Actually, the characters themselves are very sardonic and dark and sarcastic. The settings themselves are not very cute as much as they are very empty and hollow in a horror way, but like I don't sense the bubblegum. I'm not tasting any bubblegum in this. And you can do a more colloquial, casual writing style and be able to pull it off for your subgenre. My example of that is a book I read recently, Fantastic Land. Fantastic Land is an epistolatry novel. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I have a really hard time saying epistolatry because of my list, but epistolatry novel. It's written by Mike Bakoven. And the difference between Bakoven and Andrew's writing is what the piece calls for, in my opinion, in order to fit into these horror subgenres. Epistolatry, for those who do not know, mean it's a book told in pieces such as letters, interviews, emails, etc., rather than typical novel-like prose. It's kind of more akin to Dracula, the original Dracula, if you've read it. And Fantastic Land is a horror book that is told in these pieces of interviews and letters from a Coast Guard and an email and stuff like that. And because of this, the writing style being extremely casual and extremely mundane fits the piece because it's just how a normal person from the state of Florida would talk. You know what I mean? I can almost hear the Southern accent in some of these characters when they talk, and I really love that. They felt like authentic, put together interviews because it followed the cadence of a person talking with repeated words, misremembered things, etc. Bubblegum horror is not giving me any bubblegum because the writing does not give me bubblegum. There's no pink in the writing. When I imagine pink books, I can imagine plenty of them. I don't imagine this. This book is not pink in my mind. It's actually navy, and that's mainly because a lot of the descriptions lean on the dark and dreary, which is good. It's a horror book, but it's not a bubblegum horror book. And the only reason why I say this is because I've actually been working on a book for the last few months, 2 years-ish. When was NaNoWriMo? 2023. Since NaNoWriMo 2023, I've been cooking on a manuscript that I guess would be considered bubblegum horror. I was unaware this subgenre existed, but I guess it's what I was aiming for, which is something very beautiful and flowery and poetic and romantic, but also shrouded with this dread and gore. And so I guess, without realizing it, I've been working towards this subgenre, and so I guess I'm going to find myself being really picky towards this subgenre because I'm going to read other people's works in it and know what I want mine to be and what I don't want mine to be, and no offense to I Am Made of Death, but I don't want mine to be this. When I look for bubblegum horror, I'm looking for sweetness, and there's no sweetness here. I don't know. I think it's very fascinating how the use of aesthetics has started to really play into the idea of writing and getting published and being an author in this new world where everything is aesthetics first in a lot of ways.